Hi everybody, welcome back to Dark Matter Workshop. My name is Gert and this is the first episode for a small series that I'm going to do. It's a factory, a waste facility that I'm making for my Kill Team board. But of course you can use it for all kinds of sci-fi games. I'm thinking Warhammer 40k, etc, etc. This video is going to be about the foundation for the factory, and this project started in the summer of 2019. I acquired a boiler packaging made out of styrene, so I got rid of the backing and then I reduced the size. I was primarily interested in the center. This could also be used for a cool arena of some sort. So the foundation for the factory is all cut up. I know I want to incorporate 3 different structures, one here, and one in the center. So now I'm going to use foam board to build up the basic shapes. Now before I started up cutting up my foam board willy-nilly, I made a template out of cardboard. This is cheap and makes it much easier so you don't mess up any cardboard, as it's not that cheap. After this was done, I traced the cardboard onto the foam board and cut it out with a hobby knife. With the basic foam board shapes done, I start by mixing up my concrete texture. For this I'm going to use a mixture of PVA and speckle. And this is going to go into the center. As always, I use my trusty paint knife to apply this mixture all over the base of the model. And to the sides to simulate concrete. Now at this point I realize that I have forgotten to weather a little bit of the concrete, so I just use my fingers to rip some pieces out. After applying the speckle, I used a slightly damp painting sponge to give it a little bit of texture. I allowed the speckle to dry thoroughly, and then it was time to lay down the foundation for the structures that I'm going to do in future videos. First time for a bit of detailing. Please disregard the Pringles can, that's for a future project. The first detailing is with these 90-degree plastic bits that I'm going to use to simulate some piping. I also do some on the side, and I simply attach this with a hot glue gun. Some more detailing made out of an old drainage pipe from a dishwasher, simply cut into pieces, and then I used some granny grating or plastic mesh to fill this with a bit of hot glue, and then simply attached with hot glue again to the polystyrene shape. with these details attached, it's time to start working on the platforms. I drew on some basic square shapes that I'm going to fill up with the plastic mesh later. And I cut out a hole out of the polystyrene shape to place a piece of piping. And here I am cutting out the plastic mesh to fill these holes. When cut to size, it's really easy to simply push these in, and then I attach these with a little bit of hot glue from the bottom. Be gentle when applying the hot glue so it doesn't squirt out at the front. Time for some more detailing. Couple of pipes made with floral wire, 1.5 millimeter thick. And some more detailing with some textured plastic card attached with a bit of super glue. And then it's time to lay down a bunch of painting. We start with a black base coat. We start with a black primer all over the polystyrene and on the plastic mesh. First base coat is cement gray at the sides. And for a highlight, I mix in a little bit of US gray, and this highlight is primarily on the edges. For the other concrete parts, I use a base coat of base gray, and then for a highlight I mix in some US gray with the base gray and again applied it to the edges. And then a base coat of Leadbelcher all over the metal parts, the metal detailing and the metal plating that's going to come on the side. For this I just simply stippled on the Leadbelcher. Then it's time for a bunch of washes. A black wash all over the concrete that I mop up with a rag to get rid of most of it. However, it still gives this nice deep shadow texture. A bit of Typhus corrosion on the metal parts. Again with the stippling technique on the metal side plates, and then with a rag I get rid of the excess. After the Typhus corrosion, a heavily diluted sepia wash all over the metal parts. And a bit of weathering with pure sepia wash. After washes it's time for the highlights, base gray and light gray all over the center of the model. And a mixture of cement gray and light gray on the outer concrete parts. With the airbrush I apply a layer of green wash at the bottom and to where the concrete is destroyed. Now before we continue with the painting, I add some more detailing made out of chicken wire. Now because the PVA and speckle mixture has become really hard, I have to poke some holes with a needle before I can attach the chicken wire. So after making the holes, a little bit of PVA glue, and I simply push in the chicken wire to where I want it. Ladders are also made out of chicken wire, simply cut to shape and pushed in the polystyrene. For the center of the waste facility, I just started to go with a acrylic pouring technique. You can find plenty of videos here on YouTube. One of my favorites is Elise Fournier, a Canadian artist specializing in acrylic pouring and mixed media art. Definitely go and check her out, fantastic stuff. First thing we will be needing is a pouring medium. You can go and buy professional pouring medium in the stores. However, there is a cheaper option, PVA glue and water. 3 to 4 parts PVA, 1 to 4 part water. Easy peasy. You probably already have PVA in your materials list. I got this recipe from another artist on YouTube who specializes in these kinds of stuff. Also link in the description below. I highly believe in giving credit where credit is due. Second thing we will be needing are paints. I can highly recommend the cheap folk art crafting paints, Liquitex, whatever you can find. You will be needing quite a bit of paint, so don't go using Vallejo or Games Workshop, as that is going to cost you quite a bit of money. Third thing we will be needing is silicone. You can once again go and buy some, or I just decanted some from a spray that we use to lubricate doors and what have you. The silicone is going to give this cool marbling effect. And then of course a bunch of wooden stirrers and plastic cups to mix everything together. Time to start preparing the paints. 50% pouring medium, 50% paint. We are going to start off with a buttercup yellow. Second color is a golden green, a dark green, and finally black. I add a couple of drops of the silicone to the yellow and the golden green, and then I start by pouring these paints into a mixing cup, gently from the side so they don't mix too hard. And then it's simply a matter of pouring this into the shape. This is what they call a dirty pour. Pour the paint into the center, and then you can simply move the paint all over until you're happy with the result and everything is nicely covered. If you have gaps at the side like I do here, I simply use a little bit of more black. And then when everything is nicely covered with paint, I hit it with a hot air gun, and as you can see, this is going to activate the silicone in the paint and is going to create this cool texture. After a thorough drying time, I'm talking a couple of days, since the paint layer is quite thick, I hit it with a layer of glass varnish. This is again to bring out the detailing in the paint job. And then to simulate some foaming, I mix some Gorilla Glue with baking soda. You can also use cornstarch or flour. This is going to make the Gorilla Glue expand about 10 times instead of the usual 3. And it makes this disgusting foamy texture. I apply a brown wash and a dry brush with ivory. And this is the result. Remember, if you want to see more WIP pictures, please check out my social media. I regularly post on Instagram or Facebook. And that's it for this project. Thank you all very much for watching. As always, please like, subscribe, give me a comment if you got a tip, if you got something you don't like, if you got something you like, just let me know in the comment section below. I always reply to all my comments. I am a firm believer in communication. Please join me for a next project here on Dark Matter Workshop. It's not going to be industrial terrain. I gotta help out a friend of mine, Luke's APS. That's right, I'm going to fix Luke's ears. I'll see you next time. Bye.